Hi everyone, about a minute to go before we start, so I thought I'd start the recording a bit earlier. I was a bit sartorially challenged with what I should be wearing for this webinar. I thought about a shirt, but then I thought it might just look a bit weird because I've not worn a shirt for 5 weeks, is it now? So I've opted for a t-shirt instead. I have got a ridiculous amount of windows open in front of me, so it's the first time I've done one of these, so excuse me if we have any technical hitches along the way, but hopefully we'll sort it out, and we'll get through it and get some value from what I'm going to say today. So bang on 3 o'clock, I guess we should start. So thanks for joining me once again. So this webinar is based around my thoughts on the 9 steps you can be taking now to make sure your business comes out of this in as strong a position as it possibly can. So I'll start by taking you through my 9 steps, which won't take long, 15-20 minutes. And then we will have a bit of a Q&A session on anything you want, really, mainly around the government support that's available out there at the minute. But any business challenges that you've got, you know, let us know, and we'll see if we can brainstorm and come up with some ideas. You should have a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And I've got that on one of my windows somewhere. So if you've got any questions as we go along, then please just drop them in there, and we'll come to them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, let me see if I can share my screen with you. So hopefully you should be able to see my slideshow. If someone could put in the chat box yay or nay, just so I know that that there are people out there who can see what I'm seeing, that'd be good. Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Craig. So let's get cracking. So my 9 steps to come out of this stronger. First of all, first step has got to be let it all out. Now, the arrival of C-19 has shaken up a lot of business owners, and it's shaken up a lot of businesses. And to use the analogy of the Coke can you see on screen, when you shake it up, there's a massive amount of pressure inside that can, and there's a lot of energy inside that can, and no one can operate at full capacity and with absolute clarity if they hold in all that pressure. So basically, you just need to let it all out. Now, it depends on some people. That will be having a good cry. Some people will be doing a session on a punch bag. But whatever you need to do to release all that negative energy you have, just do it. Just let it all out, because negative emotions, if you don't let them out, will only fester. They will never go away. So, like I said, do what you need to do. Cry, punch bag, just release it all, so you can approach the next steps with a clear mind. And on that, the next step is all around mindset. So things are pretty crappy out there at the minute. There's people dying, there's people losing their jobs, there's businesses that are closing, but we need to approach what we're doing with our businesses with the right mindset. And this is a useful model, which I think. I mean, if you've got a team, you should definitely share this with your team, and I'll come on to as to why in a sec. But C-19 is something that's come along that is completely outside of your control. How you react to that is completely within your control. An Orbed, which is taken from the first letters of each of the words, got running down your screen. Orbed is a mindset model, and you can either be below the line or above the line. Now, if you're below the line in this situation, it's like, oh, this has come along, it's ruined my business, there's nothing I can do about it, you know, always me. I'm going to go to bed and put the covers over my head and just hope that, you know, when we come out of it, I'll have a business to go back to. If you've got a mindset of above the line, you're saying, look, this thing's out of my control. How I react to it and how I use the time to develop my business is fully within my control. So you're taking ownership of that, and you're focusing really on what you can do. It's only natural to dip below the line occasionally. What's important is to recognize when you are dipping below the line and just having a chat with yourself and look, come on, let's get more to the above the line thinking. The other thing on mindset is you've got to limit negative inputs into your head. The media are absolutely loving this because it gives them something to fill our heads with, and a lot of it, although there's some really good stories out there, obviously, and they are doing well to relay the really good stories. But when you switch the news on, you don't know whether it's going to start with a really bad story or a really good story. So just don't watch the news. Just negative as many. Limit as many negative inputs as you possibly can, because filling your head with those negative inputs takes away a lot of energy from where it's needed, and that is to develop your business. If you need to know something, because we also need, you know, there'll all be something we need to know, go for the truth, go direct to the source, rather than just watching the news and hoping it might have the answer for you. So step 3, you've let it all out, you've got your mindset right. So now with that clarity, it's time to start thinking about what your business will look like when we come out of this. It's about establishing a better vision for the future. Excuse me, just let me have a drink of water. Never spoken this much at one go for ages. So, hi, is everyone back on? Sorry, I lost complete internet then. So if anyone can hear me back, then can you put something in the chat box and I'll crack on. Hopefully we've not died completely. Right, brilliant, thank you, Vicky. Sorry about that, internet just crashed, typical, isn't it? Typical. Right, so where were we? Establishing a better vision for the future. What I was saying is you have to brainstorm, you have to think like with a restart up mentality. So when you started out in business, you spent a lot of time daydreaming of how your business would be, how it would feel like, what it would look like. Take this time now to start to think with a restart up mentality, if that makes sense. And because technology's changed since you started out, how the world works has changed since you started out. So businesses, when you're doing the day-to-day and you just go, you know, you're doing the same thing, same old stuff. You don't have this sort of time that we've got now to just sit back and reflect and think of how we can be doing things differently when we do get out of this. And it's also good to have the competitive advantage over your competitors. So if you're doing something when they're not, then you're going to come out of this in a strong position. And this little scene from Forrest Gump pretty much says it all for me. So I'll just play this. I'll just have to get to the right spot because there's a lot of rubbish beforehand. But it's about.
Hurricane Carmen came through here yesterday, destroying nearly everything in its path. And as in other towns up and down the coast, Biola Battery's entire shrimping industry has fallen victim to Carmen and has been left in utter ruin. Speaking with local officials, this reporter has learned, in fact, only one shrimping boat actually survived the storm.
Louise, there's Forrest.
After that, shrimping was easy. And since people still needed them shrimps for shrimp cocktails and barbecues and all, we were the only boat left standing. Bubba Gump shrimp's what they got. We got a whole bunch of boats, 12 Jennies, big old warehouse. We even have hats that say Bubba Gump on them. Bubba Gump Shrimp. It's a household name.
Brilliant. I love that. I love it. So if you're proactive during this period when your competitors are basically playing it safe in the harbour, you'll come out in a far, far better position. If you stand still and you focus on the problems, you're going to be one of them boats that gets smashed up against the rocks. So I'm not saying it's easy, because it isn't. But you've got to keep moving forward, and you've got to keep that positive mindset. And so with that clarity in mind of what it's going to look like when you come out of it.
Bubba Gump, big old warehouse. We even have hats.
Moves on to step 4, which is all about scenario planning. And your scenario planning at the minute, I'm guessing, is getting through the next 3 months at the minute. That's all that we need to concentrate on. And it's important because it gives you clarity on the actual position. So not the position that you've made up inside your head of how bad it's going to be. It gives you clarity on the actual position, the actual numbers. So you've got to think about the best case scenario, keep that positivity going, but at the same time, you've also got to work out or think about what the worst case scenario will be. And remember, it's all about the cash. So with the worst case scenario in mind, which might be 3 months with no revenue, you need to do cash flow forecasts and see what the position will be during those 3 months. And that will give you clarity on what you need to do and what you need to get. And then you can look at the various initiatives that the government have put forward, what grants we can perhaps get, what loans you need and what amount of loans you need. And as part of that cash flow planning, it really brings us on to step 5, which is all about cutbacks, which is not pleasant, but there will be stuff that you have to cut back, and what you should be concentrating on first are the cutbacks that are excessive. There'll be the easy win usually is check your direct debit list, because there'll be direct debits on there that you set up ages ago and you've forgotten about. So you might have come across some brilliant software that you thought that your business couldn't live without. You signed a subscription a couple of years ago, and you've got this little, 10 quid a month or whatever direct debit going through your bank account. You need to review them, cut out anything excessive. Don't strip back operations completely. That'll be what your competitors are doing. And you need to keep this competitive advantage going. So keep the essential stuff going that you can use to support you and to grow your business as much as you, well, strengthen your business as much as you can during this period. Carry on paying suppliers if possible. You might have to have a discussion, obviously, about credit terms and what you can afford to pay. But remember, you'll need their support on the other side of this, and they're more likely to support the people that supported them on the other side of it than they are for the people that basically hung them out to dry. Step 6 is all around the team, if you have one. Your team are your best asset, without a doubt. So talk to your team daily if possible. Use the technology out there like Zoom, which is what I'm using to do this webinar now. And at work we have Zoom meetings a couple of times a week. Tell them how it is. Be honest with your team. Tell them how it is, but sell them that better vision of the future that you came up with in step 3. Sell what it's going to look like and feel like on the other side of this. Acknowledge it'll be tough, because it will be, but if you work together, then you'll get through it together. And it might take a bit of a battering, but if everyone gives 100%, there'll be a job for them when it comes back, and hopefully they'll be coming back to a stronger business. And the reason why they're coming back to a stronger business is step 7, which is all about the foundations. Now, for me, there are seven pillars to a business. So you need to use this time to build for growth, and that may sound a bit strange me saying that, but you may not actually achieve any growth. But by adopting a growth mindset, you've got a far better chance of coming out of this in a better position. So use this lull period, if you have got a lull period with your time, to think about these 7 pillars and start rebuilding your foundations by just basically going through them one by one. So we've got leadership and management. We've got your marketing strategy, so have a think about that. We've got your sales and pricing strategy, and your pricing strategy usually is the place to start, because that's the easiest win when you do come out of this. Customer care, obviously, you can be doing that now. You can be talking to customers. We'll come on to relationship marketing in a while. Operations, which is basically how we do things around here. I'm quite big on operations. So if any of your team are asking, have asked you how to do something more than once, then you need a system put in place. You need to write a system. So have a think about what systems you can put in place, or you can be writing right now, that when you get back to work, you can train the team on them, and it'll free up more of your time to go and do that business development, which you will need to do. So your time's not taken up in basically constantly reinventing the wheel and telling people to do this, to do stuff that you've told them again and again. So that's a big one for me. Looking at your systems. You've got your team matters, your HR. Just get that all in order. And then finally your numbers, and your numbers are important. We talked about your cash flow planning earlier, but again, when you're thinking along your foundations, think about what numbers you think you need to measure to drive your business forward. And this is not all about the figures that we produce in your accounts for you. In fact, they're probably the annual accounts anyway, probably the least important. When I talk about the numbers, I'm talking about the key predictive indicators. And the key predictive indicators, rather than performance indicators, are all around, how many non-bounce web hits have you had? How many inquiries have you had? Of those inquiries, how many have you converted? So these are the numbers that you need to be measuring. So now's the time to have a think about your numbers, what you think you should be measuring, and putting the systems in place to enable you to measure them when you get back. And they are an invaluable management tool, as well as, because from your key predictive indicators, you will see the performance, which are management accounts or whatever. But concentrate on the drivers, the numbers that will drive your business forward. If you need any help with any of them, my book, which is basically based around the 7 pillars, you can just download that from the website. You can no charge for that. It's free. You can. I've got an attic full of hard copies, which I really need to get rid of because we need the space. So when we are back at work, if you prefer a hard copy to read, then just drop me an email and I'll be quite happily send that out in the post to you. Like I say, you can no charge. You can have them. So step 8. And that's about exploring the opportunities. So money is still out there. It's just people's priorities have changed a bit. But people have still got £1,000 phones in their pocket. They're still driving the cars, and they're still buying all the alcohol on all the supermarket shelves. So money is definitely still out there. And you've got lots of thinking time now of how you can adapt. And it may be the digitization of your product, again, not relevant to everyone. It might be setting up an online shop, looking at different products, how you can branch out, looking at different markets perhaps. Use the time you've got now to just have a brainstorm of just how you can develop your business. And coming back to this restart up mentality I talked about before, you know, if you were starting your business again, what markets would you market to? How differently would you deliver your product? And just basically have a think. And you know, you can look at how you can serve your existing customers better, but thinking outside the box all the time. And just to give you a few examples of how I've seen this actually happen. First of all, you've got Your Gym in Lytham. I'm a member of Your Gym. We obviously had to completely close. So they pretty much immediately set up a private Facebook group where they live stream exercise classes every day. There's a full timetable. There's quite a few classes with the trainers that we had when we used to go to the gym. There's personal training support. And basically, by putting this in place, he said, "Look, it'd be brilliant for us if you could keep your direct debit going, and we'll offer you this bit of value in return." And on that basis, I was quite happy to keep my direct debit going. Probably get more value now because Vicky and Holly join us on the exercise classes outside. So they've remodeled their business and they're continuing to trade even though they can't physically get in the premises. Another example on the flip side of this is that Holly goes to football training every Friday, or went to football training every Friday, and her football trainer basically sent a text round, said, "Look, we obviously can't do it anymore. I've tried to go on as long as I possibly can, but you know, I'm self-employed and I'll have no money if you stop paying me. So please, will you pay me?" Which, you know, when you know you're in a position where your business is perhaps not doing as well as it normally does, and you're looking to cut back, doesn't really fill you with confidence there, that, you know, and you think, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely support you. I'll support you, Jamie." And obviously someone has had a word with him, because not so long after he said, "Look, I'll start putting little football drills on the WhatsApp group, so you can teach your son or daughter and go through these drills with them." So on that basis, again, he's adding value. So something that you'd have thought you have to be there, he's come up with a way of adding value, and we're continuing to pay that direct debit because we want to support him. And it might be that the way your business operates just completely changes. So we've got a client who's a speaker, goes all the way, spends his life traveling around the world, hardly ever at home. Obviously, work-life balance is probably the best as it probably acknowledged. And when this happened, he was like, right, well, it looks like I've got a few months off because I can't do anything. But what he is good at, which is my next point, which will come on, is relationships. He's brilliant at relationships. So he's taken his time off. He thought, oh, I'll just phone a few clients that I've not spoken to for a long time. I'll speak to current clients, ask how they're going, just keeping in contact really. And quite a few of them now have come back to him off the back of those conversations and said, actually, I'd really appreciate it if we could put on a virtual course for our team. So he's now really busy putting on virtual courses for clients, and some clients that he's not spoken to for years. And he's at home, he's with his family. I mean, it's like a win-win. So he's thinking that, when we do come out of this, will he be able to deliver a chunk of his product virtually without the need to spend his life on a plane or in the car? So there are businesses that will come out of this because they've been forced down a route. They'll come out of this in a better shape than they went in it. Perhaps not cash-wise, but certainly the business model will be a better model when they come out of it. Now, my final step is relationship marketing. And a lot of people have asked, is it right to market in this environment? And I say, yeah, you can market. Do not be aggressive selling, because people do not want to be aggressively sold to at the minute. But instead, focus on, like the client did that I was just talking about previously. Think about relationship marketing rather than direct sales. So you're building goodwill. You're building goodwill with your customers. Build goodwill with your suppliers. Your local community. Perhaps do a bit of work in your local community, and perhaps build a bit of brand awareness if possible. But with this, you're thinking long term. You're not thinking about, am I going to sell something next week? It's all about long term. Get on the phone, ask your customers how they're doing, ask if they need any help, support them in any way you can, because we will get through this and people will start spending again, and they will remember the people that supported them during this. So relationship marketing is really, really important. So that's it. That's my 9 steps, which I hope you found useful. You've got 3 choices basically right now. You can decide what you're going to focus on. You can decide what that means, and you can decide what you're going to do about it. So I hope you do take action on one of these points, if not all, that we've gone through. I'm not dismissing that there are real problems out there. There's businesses in the leisure sector, hotels, restaurants, event companies, they're taking a big hit, and some are adapting. We've got a lot of restaurants around us that are now doing takeaways, and it's really good takeaway food. But yeah, there are problems out there. So it's not all roses, but you've just got to get that mindset right, that you're building for to hit the ground running when we get out of this. Just remind you of the ways to keep abreast of things. We've got the WhatsApp group going. Now, obviously, traffic on there is reduced massively since we've all sort of got to grips with what support is out there. I'll put a link to that in the chat box in a sec, so you can see. There's a Facebook group, so we'll open the Preston and surrounding areas business community Facebook group, which will hopefully last far after this is all done and dusted. Excuse me. And that is just for business owners to share ideas, to help each other, to support each other. So if you, again, I'll put the link in the chat box, and if you want to join, or you know any of your colleagues or family that want to join that are business owners, then please, invite them in, because the more people that are in there supporting each other, the more value people will get out of it. So let me, if I can, stop that share. I will see, because my computer crashed, I will see if I can get up the questions that people have put in that asked before. I'll just put these links into the chat box so you've got them. There you go. Hopefully you can all see that. So just going on the questions that people have asked when they signed up. First of all, I've got one about what support do we think will be repaid in the future, and basically there's obviously the loans will have to be repaid, the Sybil's loans if you get that with your bank. But things like the rates grant, that's non-repayable. The furlough payments that you'll receive, that's not repayable, but obviously you're paying that direct to your team, so there's no benefit in that. But pretty much it is all the grants are non-repayable. They're taxable, but they're non-repayable. The tax deferral schemes have got, and obviously that is just deferring your tax bill. Tax bill's not going to disappear. So if you've asked for time to pay, or you've deferred your VAT bill, then that is still payable. They're just giving you a bit of breathing space cash flow wise. Someone's asked for up-to-date details of the furlough scheme. We've got a help sheet on that, which is bang up to date. The last set of guidance, or the last update on it, was really that you can now include employees that were on an RTI report before the 19th of March. Previously it was the 28th of February. And other than that, it pretty much is as was. The claims are going in now. We're expecting to get money 6 or 7 working days, it says, not 6 or 7 days, 6 or 7 working days after we put the grant application in. It's not been straightforward at all, working out the grant claims. Different methods for national insurance, pension contributions, splitting it between non-furlough time and furlough time, and splitting it between furlough pay and top-up pay. It has been a real challenge, and I'm a member of a big accountants network, and everyone's pretty much every one of them is getting a different answer from the revenue when they're asking technical questions, because when you actually come to do it and you need the technical detail, it's even the revenue guidance contradicts each other. So it has been tough, that, but pretty much the furlough scheme's working, the portal's open, it's fairly easy to use once you've actually worked out what figures you need to put in it. So it's okay. But if you need any more than that, then just drop us an email and we'll send you the help sheet. Self-employed and directors, I'm not quite sure where that's going, but that's just what's put in. But still completely separate, remember, self-employed and directors. So directors are employed, they're employed by their own company. So unfortunately, directors, business owners at the minute, are the ones that have been left out in the lurch with all this. So employees are covered because they're getting their 80% wages. The self-employed are covered because they're going to get a grant based on the average monthly earnings of the last 3 year tax returns. Directors the ones that have just got lost in all this, it has been brought up in government quite often, but nothing seems to be changing. So as far as directors are concerned, you're pretty much stuck with, if you are doing no work, although I've given you plenty of work to be doing, I'm sure you can add, if you're on the most tax efficient salary, your claim's going to be like 500 quid a month if you chose to do nothing. Now, hopefully you can add more than 500 quid a month to the value of your business by working on all the stuff we've just been through. Will Sybil's be extended past September? Well, who knows? All we know is that the government have said they will do whatever it takes, and if it carries on like this, I'm sure they will. All these strategies that they've come up with to help us, they will extend them all. Now on Sybil's, there was an interesting post from, I've forgotten his name is, but he's the owner of BES Utilities, who's, I think he's based in Fleetwood. I think he owns Fleetwood Town Football Club actually. But he was having a proper go at the banks yesterday. I think he posted it. His business, which is obviously in pretty good shape, but has got a cash flow problem at the minute because the energy he supplies is all to business customers. He don't do any domestic, and obviously all the businesses have shut. So he's the energy consumption has gone right down. So he was struggling. With Lloyd's was his bank. He was really struggling to get a loan, and he started to put pressure on government, because that's the sort of circles he hangs around with, to try and get all this Sybil's money out. Because I think he said, I think it was something crazy like only 2% of the 330 billion that the government have made available has actually been lent, which is a pretty shocking figure, really. Business rates relief, again, two sides to that. Two sides to that. You've got your businesses that qualified for small rates relief, so they might not have actually paid any rates, but as long as they got a rate bill with it might have said rates relief, taking it all out, coming back to nil at the bottom. If you've got a rates bill and your rateable value is under £15,000 in England, then you get a £10,000 loan, again taxable but not repayable. If you're in leisure, hospitality and retail, and your rateable values between £15,000 and £51,000, you get two things. You get a £25,000 grant. You also get a full rates holiday for the next 12 months. And while we're on rates, someone asked, I think, how people were getting on with the rate claim, and I did get. In fact, let me just get it up. I did get as of the 20th, which was a couple of days ago, a league table of how the different councils are performing in getting these rate grants out to the people. And Preston City Council were really poor. They've only got 28% of their potential claimees paid out, which is they're floating around the bottom quartile of the whole country. What else was there? Fylde was actually doing pretty well. I know people are struggling. I've got a few people that are saying they're struggling with Fylde, but Fylde are doing all right. They're on 72%, so they're not too bad. South Ribble, I think that was all right. Oh no, 51%, still a lot better in Preston, but still 51%. And Blackpool, I think they were doing. I think they were like South Ribble from memory. 52% Blackpool. I mean, that's a bit disappointing. Blackpool obviously got a lot of hotels, so and those hotels are really doing nothing. So you'd have thought they'd have got a bit more out there. But yeah, that's where we are with the business rates relief. Someone's asked, I'm a director of two separate limited companies. Can I furlough myself from one because it's not working and continue to work for the other? Well, just going on the law about just employees. If an employee has got two jobs, then he can be furloughed from one job and carry on with the other job. So there's no real reason, as long as you're meeting the rules and not doing any work whatsoever for one of your limited companies, then I can't see a problem. I think you should be able to do that. Are the government going to lean on banks to get these loans as promised? Well, we've just covered that, and they are leaning on banks, and the banks are getting more and more pressure. And so, to be honest with you, I thought they were doing a bit better than the 2% that the man from BS Utilities, I don't know, but that was pretty disappointing, pretty shocking news. That, so I'm sure they are going to get properly pushed on to help us all, because at the end of the day, 10 years ago, we helped them. Someone just put cash flow projections and staff returning to work. Again, I don't know what the actual question is there, but when it comes to cash flow projections, we've got a few things that we can give you. We've got a simple spreadsheet for a cash flow. We've got a real technical 3-way spreadsheet, which we're quite happy to make available. But for those clients we've got that are on zero, we've made available some intelligent cash flow forecasting software, which links directly to your zero. It learns the patterns, although I understand that the past patterns may not be the current patterns of payment, but it basically pulls the information from zero, and then you can manipulate that and forecast out for the next 3 months. And you have got to think about, when you're doing your cash flow forecast, obviously, is when you do get staff returning to work. Got someone in retail who's struggling with no footfall, and it's a massive challenge, retail. I mean, I know what business you're in, and what I will be doing there is getting a list of developers. I'll be getting a list of interior designers. I'd be talking to your suppliers, and I'd be coming up with some sort of strategy that you can do remotely to come up with some marketing together, perhaps, or just again going back to relationship marketing, phone these interior designers who I assume will have very little to do as well, and just build those relationships. Perhaps talk about past projects, get case studies together, so you can start to market that. Because when people are living in the house a lot at the minute, and you know what happens when you're milling about your house all the time, you see all them jobs that really need doing, or you get frustrated. It looks a bit tired, this room, and I need to sort it out. So again, now's the time to be marketing, to be doing that relationship building, so that when you can get back out there and you can go back to work, your name is first on the list. Got someone talk about lack of part-time furloughing opportunities, because they need they can't afford to make full-time, cut the staff completely. They need them in part-time, and it is difficult, that, and it is a bit of a logistical nightmare. But what I will be doing there, and I know it's not going to be that easy for you because of the technical skill involved on each line, but what I will be looking at doing is remember, with furloughing, you can the minimum furlough period is 3 weeks. And so logistically, can you work it so that one team are working for the 3 weeks, then they go off, and a new team come in, so you're keeping that social distancing, and so you're keeping each line going on this like 3-week rota. So that might be something you can look at. And I think we're all quite a few people have talked about customer payments, and it is a challenge, but we've just got to keep the money moving. as best we can, and you'll have conversations with customers, and there'll be some that you can help, some that you just talk about payment terms, perhaps give them a bit of a discount if they can pay. But that is a big challenge for everyone. People are holding on to the money, and you can understand that. But like I said in the presentation, if your suppliers, certainly, and obviously a supplier is one person's supplier is another person's customer, people will remember who looked after them in this environment, and you will get the benefit of that when we come out on the other side. What we got? We've got obviously contractors with sites closed. That is just a nightmare. And again, that just comes back to the only thing you can be doing really now is this relationship marketing and the internal systems of your business to make sure that you come back and hit the ground running. And I think I've pretty much covered everything. Has anyone got any more questions they want to ask? There's nothing in the Q&A box at the minute. So if that's it, then I hope you found that useful, and we'll hopefully you can ask me any questions, like I said, and good luck with it all. I'll hopefully speak to you soon.